This is Deandra Beatty, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
Hi, this is Jackie Bowling, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
This is Jeff Riggles of Storm Products and the 11thframe.com. You're listening to The Bowler Show.
Hi, this is EJ Tackett, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
This is Dave Lamont, and you're listening to The Bowler Show.
Tonight, Andrew Feffer of Bowling with the Feff joins us to kick off the show as he gears up for episode number 100 of his YouTube podcast. Next, we're joined by rising PBA star and the driving force behind the popular The House YouTube channel, Packy Hanrahan. Following Packy is Clark Browning, a friend of Dave's that moved to Florida and is trying to raise money for equipment for the local youth after a hurricane destroyed their bowling center. Finally, to close the show, newly elected PBA Hall of Famer Lennie Boresch Jr. joins us to reflect on his path to the Hall and talk about his plans for the future. And now your hosts, David the Waz Waswo and myself, Luke Rosedal.
All right, welcome one, welcome all to another exciting edition of The Bowler Show. I am Dave Waswo, joined by Luke Rosedal, also known as Rosedale on the aforementioned House show there. We're going to talk. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to Packy a little bit about your match there, but Packy is going to be in and out of service, he said, so we will give him a try at 6:40 and see how things go. He was at a college tournament, and we'll see if he can get into us, and we'll check in with him and see how things are going. As you said, at 7 o'clock, we'll be checking in with Clark Browning, a buddy of mine who's was a local bowler here in Kansas City, moved to Florida, and of course with the hurricane, a lot of things changed down there in the blink of an eye. So he's looking to help out some of the kids in the area there, maybe get them a good Christmas. And then at 7:20, the gentleman who was recently inducted or will be inducted, just found out that he will be inducted in the PBA Hall of Fame, Lennie Boresch, will be on. Luke, every show here is sponsored by Storm Bowling, Turbo Grips, I Am Bowling, Cool Wick, hashtag SRGBBFS, Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls for sale, Bowlers Mart, Double J's Pro Shop, and BobbyJacksons.com. And I think I read most of the stuff off of your shirt there. Did I miss anybody?
No, I think you actually had, you were cheating a little bit. You had a list or something there.
I do cheat. I and actually, you and I haven't been on here for a while, so
yeah.
I'm just getting the initials down, the Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls for sale. And this, the moment I got it, we took a little hiatus here, so it's good to be back. How are things there in Topeka?
Everything's fine. We got, as always, we got plenty of bowling balls coming out. I mean, you've been busy with tournaments for a while now, and it's going to be even busier here towards the end of the year as you guys wrap up the KC tournaments with the points finale and the grand finale, and then the overnight turkey sponsored by Chewy. Now, is that it?
Yeah, well, it's actually not sponsored by the dog food place Chewy's. It's a nickname for Jason Cherry, who started this tournament. So we may have to be careful with that. People thinking that's some sort of patent infringement or something on there. But I never thought of that. It's funny. You really thought that was by Chewy's?
Yeah. Well, I was curious because I'm like, why would they be sponsored by the dog website thing? That didn't make a whole lot of sense. Now it makes a whole lot more sense.
Well, at the end of the show, what happens down in your studio? You get attacked by dogs. So what better sponsor could we have?
Yeah.
Before we move on to our guests, let's. How's your bowling been? I know you had a video with Packy, and then you also are making the change back. So take a moment and talk about your bowling in the time that we've had off from the show.
Yeah, I'm going to split it half and half, because the problem with just bowling righty period was that I had the leagues and I had tournaments and I had filming on top of that, and that's just too much for my shoulder. I mean, you understand you go back and forth for physical reasons, and so I made the switch to lefty for physical reasons. But the thing with it is with the YouTube channel, I'm like, well, I can't have a righty arsenal, a lefty arsenal, and then figure out which balls to make videos for left-handed versus right-handed versus whatever else. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make the switch, and it's just going to be what it is what it is. The problem is that we'll talk with Packy a little bit later, is it's pretty hot and cold being on the left side, and it's really frustrating going into certain tournaments. And, throwing about 5 or 6 minutes of practice and going, well, this is going to be a long and very expensive day. And we also have a scratch league on Thursday nights that I'm doing okay in, but I'd really like to be a captain again. That's kind of fun doing that. And then I'd like to be able to compete in more tournaments and tougher stuff and whatever, instead of just kind of being a donator. And so I thought, well, if I can I've got a lefty following on YouTube, and so if I can keep making videos left-handed, I can just drill the goats or my righty arsenal, what I need to score. I can go back to bowling our scratch league right-handed. I can still bowl our fun mix league on Friday nights left-handed. I can do the YouTube videos left-handed. And then righty, I can bowl most of the tournaments, and then our scratch league, and hopefully that'll work out. And that should break it up a little bit too. I tend to get a little inside my own head if I keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. I think about it too much. So hopefully this will. But another cool thing about this too is I'm going to learn to not slide right-handed too, because that's one of the big things I figured out lefty is that no matter where I go, I have no approach problems. And I've got, there's certain places like we go down to Tulsa, Andy B's is always sticky, or there's certain places in Kansas City where it's like, well, you slide a mile here, you don't slide at all here, whatever else. And I never noticed the difference. And so it's actually been quite a bit easier on my knee, hip, whatever, especially we're over 40 now. So I got to start thinking about that kind of stuff anyway, but I don't never sore, never have any issues, never anything. But I used to slide a lot righty, and so I'm trying to get that all worked out. And everything felt pretty good shooting with Packy the other day, so I think it's going to work out. Yeah, you may want to pretty much resign yourself to never throwing two-handed. That's especially lefty. I might be able to work it in and take another couple years righty, but if you're curious about that, go watch Packy's video. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch, though. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you guys had a lot of fun with it, and you both knew your limitations on certain shots, and well, that's part of the fun, though, too. So yeah, there was no retakes, right? Every shot was recorded live. Yep, Angel had the camera. And yeah, Packy's like, just turn it on. We'll cut out the dead space later. So yeah, we just cut it on. We rolled through the whole thing. Everything happened as it was. They just cut out some of the dead space, trimmed it up, made it a little nicer on the eyes and on the pacing. And yeah, that was exactly how it went. We didn't, obviously, when I throw a two-handed lefty twice and it doesn't get left of 10 on the right side either time. So it was fun to watch. We'll have a little fun with that. If we get a chance to talk to Packy today, we'll talk about that. Yeah. Not a whole lot going on in my bowling world. Just still bowling a couple of leagues. Bowling very bad at my home house, and kind of okay at Lunar, I guess. For Lunar, I'm never. It's just 215. That's just no matter what, I'm going to end up 215 there. Now so that's something. Whenever we have, if we have tournaments at Lunar, or anytime I bowl at Lunar, I'm just bowling there left-handed. It's amazing they're on the left side. Other places like Belton, I'm never bowling left-handed at Belton again, ever on anything. That's it's just funny right-handed only. Yeah, I hear different things. We go to Aaron's a lot, and there's people that bowl house there, and then they bowl in tournaments, and they feel like it's totally different. They feel like, and then of course, if you're Brandon Carlson, you can just bowl left-handed on everything. That's a different entity in itself. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, I gotta bring up, my bowling tournament from today real quick here too, because I'm still feeling the effects. I've done everything I can to get myself in the PBA Hall of Fame, on the senior side like Lennie Boresch did. So adding to my resume, I finished 11th today out of 47 bowlers and procured the last check with the 248 game in the last game. So I just, that's basic. I think that's my ceiling in those tournaments, to be perfectly honest. I either bowl bad or when I bowl okay and get it off my hand okay, because it's never on anything hard. I sneak into that last check a lot. I don't know why. That just seems to be my slot. It's kind of like when I was on the PBA tour. I wasn't horrible at finishing 25th to 53rd. Back then there was 160 bowlers, and 25th through 53rd, you got a check.
So I was pretty good at that. I just wasn't good at going. I only made 2 match plays, so I wasn't good at getting above that level. So I kind of got a ceiling in the seniors too. Although when I was 50 and first started out there, I kind of overpowered them, and I made 3 or 4 shows, and not so much anymore. Let's just say that. But it's fun to get out there. I don't get out there much. We usually have something scheduled on those weekends. We just
too busy running them.
Yeah, exactly. I've got one coming up next month on the last Sunday. The Northwest Missouri tour guys, Dan Schmierbach and his group do a great job, and they give us something to bowl, so that's great. And we were up at Gladstone Bowl today, and it was a lot of fun. I see a lot of guys that are in tune with either the show here or our tournaments or whatever. So it's good to just get out there with them and talk with them and stuff. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'll tell you what, Luke, I'm going to kind of turn this over to you. A few weeks ago, you were on the show called Bowling with the Feff. And actually, before he even comes on here, I don't know if you saw in his graphic, when you bring up with the Feff, it's WTF. So it's bowling WTF. I assume that's intentional, because I thought that was really funny. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn this over to you. You take care of the Feff here. I'll sprinkle in a question or two. I'll either send you one or I'll sneak in, and I'll let you guys kind of take over, because he spent well over an hour with you, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was about an hour 15, hour 20, something like that. So yeah, it was a pretty good show.
Let's get him on now. And then if Packy ends up, I'll coordinate Packy on the other side here, and if he's able to come on, we'll get him on about a quarter till, and we'll get the Feff on for 30. The Feff said he's good for 45 if needed. He's good until the Green Bay Packers come on and get slaughtered by the Buffalo Bills, is what I heard.
We all think we know exactly what's going to happen, but that's why they play the game, right?
I've got money on that game, so it better go exactly like Vegas expects it
to. Fair enough. I've just got my pride, but pleasure to be on. Thanks so much for having me on. And do yourself a favor, when Packy gets there, if I'm still here, just knock me right out the door.
I don't know. You got that. You got that voice, though. I think that we could just listen to you for forever. You've got that very deep, booming voice. And I was actually talking to Packy about that. He was we had last weekend is how we ended up doing that video in the first place, because had a tournament on Saturday. He was still in town, and we were filming on Sunday. He's like, hey, you want to shoot a video or whatever? And so I just mentioned I was on the show, and because he mentioned, he's like, God, you got that. We were talking about YouTube stuff, and he's like, yeah, you got that voice. And I'm like, I don't have the voice. The Feff has that voice.
My secret was an occasional cigar during college.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of, I think that kind of rounded things out. But don't sell yourself short. You've got the voice.
I'm still squeaking every once in a while. You'd be surprised how many times I get onto doing a YouTube video and my voice cracks. 40-some years old, my voice cracks. I'm like, yeah, we got to cut that off.
No, it's always you always believe it's worse when you're in the moment, and then you see it afterwards, and it's not as bad.
That is true. That is very true. So, talk a little bit about yourself. Your history. You mentioned something about MTV News or something like that, if I remember right, when you were interviewing me in the show a couple weeks ago. So yeah, just put it all out there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with my bowling story. I started way back in 1984. And I was sitting in religious school, and they mentioned that they were going to start doing a bowling thing once a month. And what really drove me in was the fact that it was a center with automatic scoring. I had never heard of that. And, that's what lured me into bowling. So I tried it once a month and really liked it. Didn't really have a lot of coaching back then. It was just kind of a fun thing. But I was interested enough that I wanted to get into junior leagues. So I did that for the next couple of years. And I was born in the Milwaukee area, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And about 3 years into my bowling career, my family picked up and moved to suburban Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I didn't know a soul there. My dad had gotten a job transfer, and we kind of went there blindly. We didn't know anybody. But I knew that I was really liking growing in the sport of bowling. So I convinced my parents to get me signed up in a junior league up there, and it just kind of took off from there. I did it more and more, started getting into tournaments and things like that. It became my thing all through, junior age and high school and all that. Me and a lot of my friends did was bowl. We bowled during the summers. We bowled during the season, of course. We worked in the bowling centers. And, it was all kind of building up to the end of high school when, some of us, myself included, decided, okay, we're going to college, want to bowl in college. I ended up going to UW Eau Claire out of high school and bowled there for 1 year. Right after high school, my family moved back to suburban Milwaukee. So Eau Claire is kind of between the two. I'm in the Eau Claire area right now. So in college, I knew a lot of people from Minneapolis and from Milwaukee. But I bowled for the team there, and then ended up transferring to UW Milwaukee, which is where I bowled for 2 more years. I've got my little pennant here. Got on a pretty decent team. We had a lot of the junior bowlers commuting in from the Milwaukee area, and we built a pretty good team that ended up winning the Wisconsin Collegiate Bowling Conference in 99-2000. And that was really probably my favorite bowling memory, was winning with that team and advancing to sectionals and all that good stuff. After college, I didn't do it a ton, once a week or so. And I graduated with a degree in broadcast journalism. So my dream as far as a career was concerned, I knew it was not going to be the PBA Tour at that point, but was to get into news, into television news. I sent out what seemed like a bazillion VHS videotapes, because back then you need a resume reel, and what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You're going to put it on a VHS videotape and send it out. So you spend all that money on tapes and priority mailboxes and all that stuff. And the one that hit was at the CBS station in Waswo, Wisconsin. And that's where I started my career in TV news. I bowled there a little bit here and there. And then after about 3 years in Wausau, moved to Eau Claire. I bowled here once a week, and then ended up getting a job in Green Bay, where I bowled for 1 season, but only stayed there for about 8 months, and then came back here because my wife is from this area. Mrs. Feff is from Mondovi, Wisconsin, which is about half an hour out of town. So, came back, got back in with the same station that I had left before, spent about maybe 10 more years there, and ended up going into marketing at an HMO here in town, which, if you know anything about working in TV news, really opened up my opportunities to bowl and live stream. Maybe a year into that job, they sent me to a conference in Anaheim, California called VidCon. And VidCon it's interesting. It's in a huge convention center in Anaheim, California. And half of it is business people, marketers, heads of companies, things like that. And the other half is like kids, YouTubers. And every so often they kind of intermingle, but not very often. And on the business side, the talk that whole year, this is 2019, was, oh my gosh, you can live stream. You can be a live streamer. But the tone was, don't be afraid to be on camera. It's not as bad as it seems. It's not that intimidating. And I'm looking around thinking, well, I've been doing this for 16 years. I just need the camera. So, started eventually gathering up the gear, and that's what started Bowling with the Fef. It's been about 2 years now. And like you said earlier, episode 100 is coming up this week. And it's been really cool because a lot of the people on this show, it's been a mix of people that I've known from bowling and people that I've known of, but never really got the chance to talk to in person, either because of proximity or other reasons. So this kind of brings it together in a way that that produces some great content, because it's story sharing. Everybody is looking for a good story, and in bowling, just like you guys do. You are able to, extract, procure these stories out of your guests. I do it the same way. And, we all kind of put our individual personalities into it. But in the end, they're unique stories that live online forever, really.
Yeah. So on your intro and some photos and stuff, what's the Mike J connection? Because I've seen a lot of pretty cool interaction with that.
Yeah.
So and some stuff at Bayside, if I'm not mistaken. Or
not
was that
Bayside,
a different place. Okay.
but so this past May, I believe it was March or May, when the World Series of Bowling was in suburban Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
I went down there, and I had Mike on the show, and how that went down is, have you ever heard of Clubhouse?
No.
It's
It
an
didn't ring
audio app, kind of like if you've heard of Twitter Spaces or
okay.
Facebook audio rooms. Clubhouse is kind of the genesis of that. It's all audio, and you come up with an account and you look at the rooms and you go in a room, and it's basically like a radio show or a phone call.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in there just because, I'm okay. If something comes up with bowling, notify me. And something did. So I pull it up, and in the room that I was in was Tim Berg, who is the host of the above180.com podcast, and Mike Jakubowski.
Okay.
So, so I basically pitch him on the show right there on Clubhouse. And he came on, and it was a great conversation. And then at the World Series of Bowling was the first time I had met him in person. So that's where that picture came from that you have on the thumbnail graphic. I was just kind of going around with a phone on a gimbal, talking and recording video, and he was right there, and he keeps saying "Get Feffed," which is a great tagline. I love it.
Great. Yeah. So like Dave mentioned, the bowling with the Faff, WTF. How did that is that's one of those, I stumble onto those myself. Like, every once in a while I just kind of come across it, and it just I see it, and it's like, I didn't even try to do this. It's not something that it's clever, but it's not something clever that I came up with. I actually just kind of fell into it or recognized it rather than coming up with it. So what's the story on that?
So Bowling with the Feff was just a name that my mother, I call her Ma Feff, kind of came up with in casual conversation. But the WTF part, it's funny. My sponsor on the show is Chip Magnet Salsa, and it's a husband and wife team here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. And he is a teammate of mine. His name is Jim Lucas, and he's like, we want to sponsor you. What's your logo? Can you send me your logo? And I'm like, I don't have a logo. I'm just, starting up in this. So he's like, never mind. We'll make you a logo. So he gets his graphic designer on it and comes back with the logo that you see in the corner of each of my thumbnails. And the B is in a bowling ball, and the WTF is next to it. And I'm like, really? And that's totally his personality. He's like, no, just go with it. Just go with it. So I'm like, all right, I'll go with it.
Well, it's great because people like stuff like that where it's kind of edgy, but it's like kids animation movies, like something like Shrek or something, where there's a bunch of references for the adults that get it, but the kids have no clue what's going on. And so it just makes sense to somebody that doesn't have that kind of a mind. It's bowling WTF, bowling with the Feff. That makes sense. It's an acronym.
I mean, totally his idea, but but it's great. I never swear on the show, which is fine, but that's just, I like the look of it, and it just kind of stuck, I guess.
Yeah, I need to get some of that salsa too, because we're So on the bowling side of things, Dave's the one that takes care of booking the guests, and I've tried to once upon a time, I tried to do my own show that was called Clean 30, which was going to be, 30 minutes with different pros. And I found out I was terrible at doing it myself, because I'm like, well, I'm just going to send this person something. You watch them on TV, you feel like you know them. They have no clue who you are. Mm-hmm. And so you send them something random out of the blue and say, hey, would you like to come on this bowling show? I'm not going to pay you anything, and it's going to be whatever else. And so that always kind of made me nervous, I guess. And I was terrible at it. So, but with you coming from a background like that, you just, it doesn't matter how big or how famous they are. It's like, well, we just put something out there, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, whatever.
Yeah.
So what's your kind of approach to that?
The worst they can say is no, right? I mean,
yeah.
you try, and I've had, conversations like that via Facebook Messenger or whatever that have led to people coming on the show. I've had them that have not. I've had them that, he either, maybe did not initially, and then down the line worked out, or something like that. My approach is pretty much what I would have done in news. I'll reach out and, hey, here's the show. This is what it's all about. I'd love to have you on, or Luke said it would be a good idea to have you on because I have my guests challenge other people to come on at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, but you just keep trying. I think that it's an interesting situation we're in as bowlers, because we have the access to the pros at the highest level without even knowing it. These pros are very accessible. More often than not, they're the nicest people you ever want to meet.
That's true.
And I think they understand that they have a role in growing this sport and giving people a unique perspective to them and to what they do and how the PBA tour operates, or even how their local associations operate with them in them. And it all kind of works in a synergy with people like you and me who are creating this content for people to consume. And it's you get into it not because, I'm going to make a bunch of money. There is money into it someday, but you get into it because of the joy of the craft, really. And I think that's probably the reason why you got into this show and into your ball review videos and things like that. And that's certainly the reason why I got into live streaming.
Yeah, and that's really interesting, because we had the U.S. Open was in Wichita in 2017, 2018, something like that. And we haven't had a whole lot of stuff that's local enough, or I've been too busy to actually make it to stuff. And you never really know. You think, well, somebody's famous, they're on TV, they're going to be this way, that way. I don't want to bug them. I'm not the kind of person that's going to go up to somebody and ask for their autograph or for a photo or something. I can just enjoy what they do from a distance or whatever. I don't, unless I actually have something meaningful to talk to them about, I don't need to get some random picture and autograph or something like that. Sure. But I did have a chance to kind of mix it up with a few of them at the U.S. Open. I was there pretty much the entire week. I bowled the PTQ. I happened to bowl with Daria Payuk and Matt Ogle, which was very cool.
Yeah.
And again, it just, the bowlers are a whole lot cooler, like you said, a whole lot cooler and a whole lot more accessible than people might actually think. And so I got to know a few of them over the course of the next few days. And Tom Smallwood is amazing. And, Packy, that we're hopefully going to snag here a little bit later, he's amazing too. He was actually the one that reached out to me about the video thing that we did a couple days ago. Cool. And it was really cool, because of the tournament we had on Saturday here locally, I didn't bowl, but Packy was bowling, and there was somebody else that was practicing in the center and that came down, was about on their way out. And then they said, I was just right next to the entryway, and he kind of looked at me and he's like, is that Packy? Is that the house guy that's on the YouTube channel? I'm like, yeah, go say something to him. If you want, you recognize him, go say something to him. He's like, you sure that's okay? And he's like, yeah, he's totally cool with it. And so after the first game, Packy and Zach Wilkins, who was there bowling with him too, actually went across. There's a great donut place across the street from that bowling, or across the parking lot from the bowling center. they got done with the first game, and the guy said, "Hey, I love your channel, whatever else." And Packy's like, "Hey, we're going to get donuts. You want to go over there?" So the guy went over there and got donuts with him and Zach Wilkins, and they came back and they cut it up for a little bit. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm constantly surprised by, the Bowler Show has been great for me as far as that goes. And I think the lesson to everybody else is that, just, don't be afraid to talk to somebody or whatever else. And sometimes they're not going to send a message back, or they're going to be too busy, or they're going to be whatever else. But the pros, and they're far more accessible and a lot cooler than you would probably expect.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the fact that you have Packy on with, someone who has his own channel, his own stake in this, because he understands a lot of the things that, that people like you and I are trying to do in really feeding the beast. Because if you're going to have a YouTube channel, you need to keep pumping out the content somehow. And, the house is a great example of that. They're always coming up with innovative stuff to put out there, and it's always entertaining. So, kudos to him and Brad and Kyle and the other pros who are actually kind of either dipping their toe into this or going full bore, because that's a great link between them and those of us who are just doing this because, again, we enjoy the craft of it.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because when I was on your show, I nominated Stu Williams, who I've kind of, oddly enough, gotten to know through the whole YouTube thing. And it was kind of funny too, because Packy, when he was getting into starting to run the house channel, he's the one that does most of the content creation for the house channel. He's kind of the guy when it comes to that. And so we'd see each other at tournaments, and he would ask me a few things about YouTube, this, whatever else. And Stu and Chris have the Beef and Barnsey thing. And when they got into it, Stu would send me a few things and ask about this or that, or timelines, or whatever else when it comes to ball reviews. And so we just naturally get to talking that way. And I think that is great to have, Packy's just like he seems like on the videos. Darren Tang's really cool too. Stu and Chris Barnes are great. And I think that the best thing about a lot of the pros starting their YouTube channels is that people can get to know them or feel like they're a little bit more personable, instead of thinking, well, they're on TV, they're pros, they're separated from me or better than me or something like that. And something that I kind of operate by is like, every single person on the planet is better than somebody else at something. And so just because they're better than you at bowling doesn't mean, there was an Instagram video where Jacob Buttriff was trying to play golf, and it was tragic. But stuff like that is really humanizing. It's really cool to see that. And I think that they all kind of understand that. They're just bowling nuts. They're all on our same level. And so, it's great, especially to have a lot of the pros have their own YouTube channel and to kind of interact with people. I think that's a great thing for just bowling in general.
Yeah. Can I amend what you said? Everyone is better than you at something, except for being you. And if you can interject part of yourself into what you do, be it a live stream, a recorded video, a blog, whatever, that's unique content that nobody else can replicate.
Yeah. I don't know. I would think that, I would hope that somebody else out there is better at being me than I am, but
I doubt it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hashtag unique, right? So what do we have for episode number 100? Because if you do it once or twice a week, even, or just once a week, because we got these shows that are once a week. I have another show that's once a week. Getting to episode 100, it sounds like a big number, but kind of like, oh, it's only 100. That's not. But over the course of things, like, it represents a whole lot of time. So what do you got? What do you got coming up for episode number 100?
So I actually put it to our viewers and, said, what should I do for episode 100? And I got a couple responses here and there, and didn't really, the ideas were good, but you got to kind of think, okay, you've only got a finite amount of time between shows too. And I'm kind of used to doing one a week and all that. And if I have two in a week, it kind of, frazzles everything on my end. So I'm really kind of putting this to people who watch and participate in the show. What I'm doing is I'm putting one out called a free-for-all. And it is basically, you guys, please come on. Let's treat this like almost like a radio call-in show. If you've ever had the inkling, the attraction to one of these shows, but thought, oh my gosh, I don't have the story for that, or even I don't have the time for that, this is an opportunity to pop in, have a quick conversation, tell us about yourself, or ask us questions, and just kind of do it like that. Amy Gonstad is in the picture there. She's going to be here kind of as a co-host because Amy was in a test episode of Bowling with the Faff before I really got started in the once a week thing. And that episode was important because it kind of was the proof that, oh my gosh, I can really do this. The technical problems aren't going to prevent me from putting this show on the air, or on the web, as it may be. So I thought it would be a cool idea to bring her back and have her, as a co-host in this. And plus, that's kind of a safety net too, because if nobody joins in the chat or anything, at least we can have a conversation and still kind of keep the boat floating. But it's like I said, it's a great opportunity for people to kind of get into a show like this without having to sit here for an hour thinking of what to say or whatever else. So I'm actually putting in your chat right here a link, bit.ly/BWTF100. And that's the link that will get you will connect you to the show. So on Tuesday at 5:30 Central, we will start up the show. And if you'd like to be a part of it, if you have questions, if you have something you want to say, maybe you want to talk about how Luke is the best ambidextrous bowler of all time. Maybe you want to say, how the conditions in your home center suck, or anything in between. We'd be happy to talk about it. So give us a shot.
Yeah, that sounds great. I don't have anything going on Tuesday night, so I will set my alarm and I will be there.
Awesome.
It's very interesting because it's all the YouTube thing, especially when it comes to bowling, is a whole lot tougher than people kind of expect that it is from a views perspective, from a traffic perspective, whatever else. And so there's a lot of really great stuff out there that we just kind of miss. And so I definitely don't want to miss this. I've actually gone back and watched some of your other episodes. We've been friends on Facebook for a little while, and anybody that does YouTube bowling stuff, it kind of gets used to it. But at the same time, it's hard you're so busy kind of figuring out your own thing that you don't really get a chance to check out what everybody else is doing.
Right.
And so once you do actually take the time to go back and look at stuff, it's like, wow, this is really interesting. This is good stuff. This needs more, this needs more attention. This needs more views. This needs more whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and pull Dave back in here and see what he's got for you.
Okay.
Dave's on the show.
Yeah.
Trying to get this angle right. This is
a
new webcam. I want to give Tobias Myers some props for taking care of that. This is a lot better than me with the claw around the phone, trying to get the right angle and all that. Still working on some of these angles here, but that's a different story. Luke, we need to use the Feff's voice, for our stumbling and bumbling around rather than you and I trying to go through our.
We need to. So I finally, hopefully, you noticed in the intro, I finally got Dave Lamont. He was on with us a couple months ago, and he did the whole, this is Dave Lamont. You're listening to the Bowlers Show. We got that on there, and I'm like, I should pull that and actually put that into the show. And then, of course, I'd never got around to it. I finally got around to it this time. So we might need a Feff This is bowling with Andrew Pfeffer, bowling with the Feff, or whatever. And you're listening to the Bowlers Show because you've got the voice. So
absolutely, yeah. Anytime, and Dave. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about a golden voice? Dave Lamont is. He's great at that voiceover stuff.
And he's been on the show a couple of times, and he's always been great. But like Luke was saying, most of the guys, I got a lot of contacts from when I bowled. I bowled on tour in the late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, and that's why I'm doing a radio show now. But a lot of those guys, they remember, even the schmucks that are, if they're out there for a while, they remember. And you make friends with some of them.
Yeah.
I've told this story a couple of times on the show. When I went to Vegas a couple of years ago for the Senior Masters and the Senior U.S. Open, I went up to Norm and a few guys that I knew, and I talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had two of them come up to me, Walter Ray and Parker Bone, and ask me, "Hey, how you doing? Where you been?" And I was floored by that. So the bowling community is great overall. There's a few people that are tough to get on the show. Mm-hmm. Luke and I have been trying to get Verity Crawley on for quite some time. Luke is going to take that interview and run with it. Unfortunately, she has not been able to make it on. She's had stuff going on. She's scared of Luke. I'm not sure what the deal is. She has not made it to the show.
I can vouch for her. Once you get her on, she's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
She's come on a couple times on my show, but the timing is different and all that stuff. I'm sure it's not Luke, but she is fantastic, and she'll be a great interview.
I'm pretty sure the first time that I met her, I told her I was terrified. So it just never goes well.
Yeah. All right. Well, currently we haven't gotten any word from Packy, Feff, so we're going to keep you. I can call you Feff, right? Does that?
Please.
Because I have no idea what your actual name is.
Well,
so that's a lot better than what some people have called me.
We call Dave Waz, and so you get so used to calling some people some things. It's like Andrew. Who's Andrew?
Yeah.
If somebody says David in the bowling alley, I'm like, oh, I guess that's me. I don't even realize it. So I got a couple here, just kind of bouncing off what Luke was talking about there. We talked a little bit about, getting guests and having some contacts, and some people have stuff going on Sunday night. That's just the way it goes. My favorite interviews of all time, Carmen Salvino, Johnny Petraglia, the old school guys who could just take over the show and talk for the whole 2 hours if we wanted them to. Mm-hmm. And I don't really have any least favorites. But I do have like a least favorite answers. It's the guys who come on and every, it's, hey, how'd your U.S. Open go? Take us through the week. Well, the first block I was bad, and the second block I bowled pretty good. we want more. And then some people talk forever, and that's fine. They don't need to hear Luke and I, trying to ask these 4-part 2-minute questions that we seemingly get into a lot. But let me see if I can break out of this and ask you. I want to ask you what your favorite interview of all time is, and then I'll ask you your least favorite interview too. But I got to tell you real quick before you do that. Yeah. My least favorite answer one time was from somebody now who I'm friends with, Anthony Simonson. At the end of the show, a lot of times I used to like to ask the guests, hey, you got anybody you want to thank, family, coaches, somebody instrumental in your recent success. So I asked that to Anthony, and he says, no. So I said, are you sure there isn't a coach or a person, somebody you want to thank along the line?
Nope.
No. So as an interviewer yourself, you're normally you ask a question, you've got some downtime, you get ready for the next question, or you listen to what he says and bounce off of that. But he just said no, and I was like, well, I got nothing here. You sure there's nobody? No, that's not. So, all right, I guess we're done. So, and I love Anthony. He talked to me in Vegas a bunch when I worked at the Open Championships last year for a month, and Anthony lives out there, and we talk a lot. So. Anyway, I'm done rambling. So tell us your favorite interview, and then maybe an interview, maybe not your least favorite, but something funny or something that tech wise went wrong on the show.
Oh man, see, I've got the YouTube channel up in a different window here, just because I'm trying to go back and think, and I've been asked this before. What are is your best guest, your favorite guest? Man, there have been so many. I mean, you've got Lennie on tonight. Lennie was a fantastic guest. The two guys from Sweep the Rack came on. They were fantastic. I mean, entertaining and really candid about their bowling stories. Early on, I mean, my first guests were two guys that are local. that are the creators that came up with bargain bin bowling memes. I don't know if you've seen that group on Facebook, but yeah, they're right here in town, Sam and Paul, and they came on the show. They were the first ones to do it, so I'm still kind of getting my bearings. But you know how it is to get that first one out of the way. It's a huge relief because then you know what you did and you know the things you need to clean up and all that stuff. So that first was a big one for me. My first PBA guy was Dave Barris. He and I bowled in the same junior leagues growing up and in college. That was a big thing for me, even though I know Dave and have known him for 25, 30 years. Verity was a big one. That one actually it's kind of funny you mentioned her, because when we had set it up, between the time that I booked her and the time that we went on was when she was forced to go back to England.
Right.
So all of a sudden she's got all this other stuff going on. So I message her and I'm like, look, I know you've got a lot on your plate right now. You don't need to be worrying about a silly bowling live stream. If if we need to put this off, she's like, no, that's fine. We can still do it. I'm like, okay, what time is it here versus there and all that stuff. And she's like, well, it's this and that, and it's a little behind. And I'm like, okay, how about if I do it at 6 a.m. Central and it's noon there? And she's like, you're going to do it at 6 a.m. Central? I'm like, yeah, I did a morning show on TV for years. I can wake up early and do 6 a.m. So I did. Yeah. And for a long time, that was the most watched live stream, despite, the early hours. And most of that is, replay viewership. But, so to get that one going was pretty special. I had a friend named Joe Buchholz who passed away earlier this year. He came on in the early days of this show. So that has a lot of sentimental value for me because he was one of my best friends growing up and in adult life. We, our lives kind of, intersected and went away from each other for, years at a time. But, he was also a content creator. So that was really special to me because he's unfortunately no longer with us. But to have, guys, obviously guys who compete on the PBA tour and are high-level bowlers, a lot of them are willing to come on. But the ones that I like are either the local people who may not get a chance to do this in other forums. I kind of hold dear to the fact that this is for everybody. And if you want to come on and tell your bowling story, I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. So some of those are pretty special. A nephew of a former coworker who is, I believe, 11 years old, Dylan Scafferty from over by South Bend, Indiana, came on with his dad and talked about his story, but also how his dad had nothing to do with bowling before Dylan got into it. And so he's learning as Dylan goes. And, Dylan's going to junior gold and his dad's got to, kind of figure out what that's all about and what it means for travel and all that stuff. So that stuff's neat too. But, yeah, I think my favorite ones are probably the ones where, it's somebody local or somebody maybe outside of the professional or even high level amateur ranks who, just want to give this a try. And then once it's done, it's on YouTube and it's there, as long as YouTube is, right?
So once again, I'll give you one more opportunity. Who's your least favorite interview and why was it Luke?
No, Luke was fantastic. I thought Luke was a great interview. The one that I wish I could have back, and it's my least favorite, not because of the interviewee, but just because of, like you said, tech problems. Right. Episode 7. Was a guy named Kyle Blasey, who was he's a pretty high level amateur in northeastern Wisconsin, and he bowled for UW Oshkosh while I bowled for UW Milwaukee. And we were pretty good friends in college, decent friends now, even though lives are in other places. But he tried to do it where he had it set up with a phone at the bowling center, and it just didn't work out so well. So Kyle, if you're listening, I feel like I owe you one. I want to do another one with you on it. So, yeah, I wish that had turned out differently, but yeah, the tech problems really kind of put a stake in that one, I guess you could say.
Between Luke and I, and between my time on the actual radio, I mean, I could go through a million tech stories that happened between. And with bowlers on our show, it's always been Sunday night, 6 to 8. A lot of them are traveling, whatever. Yeah. But you reminded me of one of my favorite interviews that was also one of the more challenging, was Glenn Allison. Now, Glenn agreed to come on the show, and then right before the show, he said, "Oh, just so you know, I'm working the counter at the bowling alley at the same time." Okay, so a couple of times he just kind of had to go away for a minute, and he was 89 at the time, I think, or maybe I don't know, 85, and he's still working in a bowling alley. That tells you enough about him. There's a lot of people saying he should be recognized for that 900 and so on with that, but his dedication is still in the bowling, and he wanted to come on the show. He wanted to talk about it. I forget, something came up about somebody else's 900, I think, and it brought up the everybody on the internet talking about his. So I thought, well, let's get him on, and then he agreed. And then later on, he said, just so you know, I might have, I hear this, ball on 22, and we've got Cosmic on Saturday night, and he's on one line and talking with me on the other, and we kept him on as long as we could to get what we could out of him. But then also, he's working the counter during the interview. I thought that was one of the more fun ones we did.
That's funny. And if your thought process is the same as mine, you're like, come on, I'll get through that other stuff. I just know there's tons of stories in his head that need to be told and that we'll enjoy hearing.
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
Obviously, a programming note for those of you waiting for Packy Hanrahan and seeing these three ugly mugs on the screen. Packy will not be making it here. He was at a Wichita State tournament. I believe he was. I don't know if he's assistant coach or what he's doing there, or maybe just getting some content for the house also. But he has not been able to contact us back, so he will not be coming on the show. So, Feff, if you got a few more minutes, I'll send you back to Luke here. I'll check in with our next guest, and we'll bump you out of here in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, as long as the whole Verity thing, we just we talked about this on the show that I was on with you, and I'm terribly starstruck, and Verity is like I love the PWBA, and Verity is like right here. Julia Bond is like right here too, and so I got a chance to meet her, and she's great. But I was terrible. And then the second time and it was actually my wife that sent her an email and said, "Hey, can you come on Luke's show?" And she somehow agreed to it. And then that was also a disaster. So we're hoping that the third time is a charm and not the final strike.
Yeah. But I'm, life happens, and, things happen, and people are human, and I'm sure she gets all that. I mean, we all do, right? I've had, we talked about the tech problems. The first time I had Sean Wagner on the show, my connection was lost 3 different times during the show.
Yeah.
And he was able to just keep going and, keep the train going. And when I got back, it was like, we just picked up where we left off. And he understands, if you've been doing this or consuming this content enough, that things happen. And let's face it, we're early in the process of doing streaming video, live streaming video. So things are going to happen, but you roll with the punches and figure it out.
Yeah, there's somebody, you might look at the screen here. There's somebody's got a message for you.
Oh no. Oh, Steve, come on. Steve. Oh, he's a fantastic guest. I was telling my buddies in league, if there's one guy that I could sit and watch bowl like all day, it is Steve Klemkin. I mean, he is just his balance is like that much better than than mine will ever be. His release is just so solid, and and he was a fantastic guest on the show. I don't know about this Vikings talk. I mean, I feel like this is one of those years where, we're not really probably going to be in the playoff conversation. My Packers, at least if current trends keep going. And yeah, the Vikings will probably take the division, but I don't know. And I'll tell you the thing, how I told you before that we went from Milwaukee to Minneapolis to Milwaukee. Well, my father grew up in the Milwaukee area. He was always a Packers fan. He taught me to like football, which is why I like the Packers. But my brother, who is about 5 years younger, and Ma Feff didn't learn to like football until we were in Minnesota. So now they're Vikings fans. So every time, the Vikings beat the Packers, I think of those two because they're always laughing at my expense. And this year they've been laughing a lot. But I didn't realize Steve was a Vikings guy. Oh, boy.
Yeah. He catches the show every once in a while. Jeff Riggles catches the show every once in a while, too. And it's kind of funny because Chad McLean says that Steve's like a human throwbot. And so whenever they're doing the ball videos or whatever else, or doing stuff with Specto and whatever else, it's like, yeah, he just never misses. And so he doesn't really help us out a whole lot of times when we're trying to figure out this or that or the other, because he just, every single shot's just like bang, bang, bang. And so we're like, is Specto even working, or what are we doing here? So
yeah, I mean, my goal, like any YouTuber, is 1,000 subscribers, but my bowling goal is to bowl like Steve Klemkin. I'm no problem putting that out there. I want to bowl like Steve.
Yeah, that would be that would be pretty awesome. We're gonna have to. We've had Steve on the show before, and he was great. And we're gonna have to have him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool that we get some people watching here on the show that drop some stuff in there. And even though you are wearing a Green Bay, we're Chiefs fans around here, and so recently we've actually Chiefs fans are not as well. They're actually as bad as you think they are, but it's very rare that we have a sports team here around Kansas City that we can cheer about. So we had the Royals for like 2 or 3 years. Now they're terrible again. And even when the Chiefs used to score a lot of points, they would also give up a lot of points. And so we were the team that's like, hey, we're going to make the playoffs and we're going to lose in the first round. And then, so yeah, whatever. So,
yeah. But hey, you've got like you said, you've got a great team to cheer for now. I mean, in the AFC, Chiefs and Buffalo, that's kind of the class of the conference right now. So while my Packers are kind of wallowing in whatever this is,
Aaron Rodgers,
yeah.
It's kind of funny to see the memes out there where you have the series where you have the diagram where it's like everything just kind of chases its tail, and it's like, well, we're gonna win some stuff, and then Aaron Rodgers is gonna get pissed off, and then we're gonna have contract crap, and then we're gonna have he's ultimately gonna be back with the team, and everybody's gonna be excited again, and then we're gonna go back to not.
And we're forced to to kind of say, well, yeah, this is a weird year and we're probably not going to do that well, but man, we had a good run with 2 great quarterbacks and a couple of Super Bowls in our lifetimes, and we got all this history, and golly, we're pretty lucky. I mean, there are a lot of fan bases out there who would be lucky to get a sniff of the playoffs, and we're sitting here complaining because we're on track to either sneak into a wild card or miss them all together for 1 year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you guys had what, three quarterbacks in 112 years or something like that?
Exactly. Yeah. And
that's all you've needed. So it's kind of like Pittsburgh with their coaches. You guys have been blessed with some generational quarterbacks, and we're lucky enough now to have one here in town. So it's fun. It's fun. And I think Luke talked about our fan base. I don't think people are realizing what we're going through right now. When you host the AFC Championship every single year of your career as a quarterback, 4 years, 4 for 4, that just doesn't happen. So I think people are going to look back when we go back to being maybe like the 80s for a while, and they're going to say, oh yeah, we should have really enjoyed that a little more. But Fef, while we got you here, before I bring on the next guest, I just want to give you my Steve Klemkin story.
Okay? Oh, good.
I've told it a million times on the show, but I like telling it because it gives me brownie points with Steve in case I need them. And then also it's the part of the reason, or really the main reason, I'm with Storm. As you know, of course, Luke and I are ambidextrous. Some of us better at one side, better than the other, switch back and forth, whatever. But anyway, I'll try to make this quick. Back in 1999, I was bowling on tour and I hurt my knee. I was in East Brunswick, New Jersey, whatever the heck it is, where Carol Air Lanes is.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, hey, no big deal. It was a night block. I'll just sleep it off. I was 34 years old. I woke up. I couldn't walk. So I had to WD. First time I WD'd in any PBA tournament.
Okay.
So I called the wife. I said, hey, I'm in New York. I've paid for a couple more tournaments, but I'm going to come home because I've screwed up my knee. So I thought, hey, maybe I could bowl left-handed. I don't slide on the left knee. I slide on the right knee. Took a house ball at another house and tried it. And I thought, hey, I could do this. So I'm out here already, driven a long way, already paid for the tournament. So I went to the next tournament. I believe it was I was on Long Island. I think it was Coram, New York. And I got there and I thought, well, I'm going to bowl left-handed, but I got a problem. I don't have any equipment. I could throw my right hand stuff, but obviously not nearly the same. And, kind of need to be a little more precise on the PBA tour. So back then it wasn't like now where, staffers are getting, give me 30 balls off the truck, each guy. Back then you went to a ball rep, Tom Baker with AMF at the time, Steve Klimpkin with Storm, whoever, and you, when you were a schmuck like me, you would come up and beg for bowling balls. So yeah. I went up to Steve and, I hadn't even really met Steve before. And I said, hey, here's my plight. I need is there any possible way you could, get me a ball? I can throw left-handed in the next tournament. And I asked him for a comp slip and he said, sure. I said, oh, that's nice. Yeah. He handed me 3 comp slips. He said, you're going to need one for the A squad, one for B squad, or the night block. I don't call it the burn squad. I will never call it that. It's just the next one. We called it B squad. But anyway, yeah. And he said, you're going to need a ball for your spares for 7 pins. He handed me 3 comp slips, and I never forgot that. And then in 2014, when I brought the Bowler Show back, I thought, well, this would just be the perfect storm to bring back the show and then also get on the staff, and everything worked out. And that's just the kind of guy Steve is. And whether he's listening still or not, I don't care, because I like telling the story. Because that's, I was nobody, and instead of just giving me one ball, he thought ahead that, hey, you're going to need one for the morning, one for night, and you're going to need a spare ball. And you just don't forget things like that. So.
Yeah, for sure. No, I can, it's a great story, but I'm not surprised. Having talked to Steve a few times, over the past several months, Steve came on the show because somebody else challenged him. He was very gracious with his time. He happened to come on during one of those days where the stuff with the Spectre was going on. So he wasn't, exactly sure, about that stuff, but he answered what he could. I had to ask him a few questions about it, and he did a fantastic job. And afterwards, I don't know if you can see behind me the 3 bowling pins. One of them off to, it would be the left side, is one that Steve sent over. It is autographed by Kyle Troop, Jason Belmonte, Jesper Svensson. And he said, this is, take this. This is, something basically symbolizing his scholarship that he put together, the Coach K Scholarship Fund. If you wouldn't mind mentioning it now and then. And I do. I work it into the show. It's there's a bit.ly address for it. I believe it's bit.ly /Coach K Scholarship. But what a terrific thing he's doing for, those students at Wichita State. And that's an awesome example of the kind of guy he is. It's good in bowling that we have people like that who are generous with their time and obviously their resources in your case, in my case. But Steve's a good one. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you've taught me, I always thought it was bit.ly. I'm not really computer savvy, but whenever I used to see those links, I thought, well, what's this bit.ly stuff? So
tomato.
Now I know it's bit.ly. So
yeah.
All right. Well, Feff, our next guest has not clicked on yet here, so if you want to keep hanging here for a few minutes, I'm going to try to contact him.
Yeah, we got Clark here.
Oh, you got Clark? How come I can't see him on this end?
I don't know. We got Clark and Lennie. So.
Oh wow.
All right. Well, let's get rid of the Feff then.
Yeah.
Hey, Feff, I'll let Luke take you out here, but we appreciate you coming on the show, man. You got good stuff. Keep doing what you're doing, and congrats on the 100th.
Thank you, and thanks for asking. And Dave, you're going to have to come on too onto my show, and we'll have to work that out offline.
Lots of really good stories.
Yeah,
lots of them
for sure.
So, all right, we're gonna thanks a bunch for coming on the show. Congratulations on reaching 100 episodes. Look forward to seeing that Tuesday at 5:30 Central. You said.
Yep. And again, bit.ly/BWTF100, BWTF in caps. And that's how you can connect on the show. And if you have stuff to say that's bowling related, we'd love to hear it.
All right. Well, thanks a bunch for joining us. It was really cool to be on your show a couple weeks ago. No idea what my computer's doing right now, but thanks a bunch for coming on the show, and it was a good time, and we'll talk to you later.
And before I go, can I just say congratulations, Lennie? That is tremendous. And well deserved that he's going into the PBA Hall of Fame, and bravo to him on a great career.
Yeah, Jeff Riggles wrote an article about it, and then he embedded the video where Tom Clark went out and kind of surprised him with the announcement, and so it was very cool. So looking forward to talking to Lennie here in a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Thanks again, guys.
Yep. Thanks a bunch.
You bet.
All right, Luke. Let's do this. Let's take our pseudo top of the hour break. Let's play. Message from one of our sponsors. Actually, it's our only commercial we have. So go ahead and play Bob Foster's commercial if you would. And when we come back on the other side, we'll have Clark Browning.
All right.
Bobby Jackson's Trading is the place to sell all your unwanted precious metals, including broken gold and silver jewelry. They also buy old silver and gold coins, so check them out for all your buying and selling needs. Also, did you know that Bobby Jackson's Trading pays top dollar for your unwanted gift cards? You know, the ones your grandma got you for Christmas? Bobby Jackson's Trading is located on 23rd Street, just one block east of Noland Road in Independence, Missouri. They're open 7 days a week. Check them out at bobbyjacksons.com or give Bob Foster a call at 816-463-1919. That's 816-463-1919.
All right, welcome back to the show. Once again, our title sponsor, Storm's right behind Luke, and it's right here on my shirt. But let's move on. We had plenty of time there with the Feff. You got his time with you. You got his time with him. So let's bring our next guest. He's a friend of mine who bowled here in Kansas City for a while. He's moved to Florida here recently, and as a lot of you guys know, they had some bad weather down there and wiped out a lot of the state. And of course, in the bowling world, they wiped out some bowling alleys, and some people don't have equipment. So a good friend of mine who used to deal with me at Harris. Clark, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. Oh, sorry. There's my dog.
That was a
timing. Dog? I'm sorry. That dog, and then he's chasing my son. So he's perfect timing.
Oh. Yeah, I heard the son more than the dog. But anyway, bring him on. That's all right. We got a lot of leeway on this show. There's no rules at all.
Yep, that's
as long as he doesn't curse.
No, I think I might have that problem more than anybody. My wife she's supposed to be home right now, so, but yeah. Yes, that is, this is Navy.
Everybody, hey, are you a bowler?
He actually has watched a lot of the videos.
All right, blink twice if you're in trouble. He is taking over the bowler show right now.
Yeah, that was immediately as we come on. He was watching his show. Everything looked good. My wife's like 10 minutes out, and so I was like, all right, this should work out perfectly. And then, boom, immediately he comes over.
He's a camera hound. So
yes. So, but yeah, everything has been kind of wild. Obviously, everybody can imagine what would have happened during that time. But yeah, it's been a crazy kind of month. We're coming up on 5 weeks out, and even today, you can drive out and just see. It just seems like it just happened, just because there's just so much that's still left to be done. So that is, it's a wild time to just the sheer mass of the destruction was kind of the why, just kind of the eye opening thing. That's just one of the pictures from the bowling alley. There's, if you look up Treasure Lanes on Facebook, you can kind of scroll through. They've been updating their progress. They had a roof. I mean, it was a 12-round heavyweight fight that we were only prepared to take on about 6 rounds for. It was a really tough 10 hours of just unrelenting wind and rain. I'll be honest, I was super nervous. Like after about 4 hours, the panic started. Not really panic, but the anxiety started to take over. And I started just like, wow, like this is an intense storm. And it just happened so fast. Luckily for me, like I was prepared. I was in a home that was a former builder's home in the 90s, but it was an after Andrew home. Hurricane Andrew, I think everybody kind of remembers that storm. That was a big one that happened in Florida that wiped out the Miami area. That kind of changed the whole building aspect of how we create homes today. So that was I was comfortable where I was, but it was a matter of once darkness set in and not being able to see anything, that kind of made me more nervous because of the water kept coming up and up and up. But it made it all right.
All right. Well, talk about the bowling alley specifically here. Is it where are they at? What are you guys looking for? You on your GoFund page? Obviously, that's just for monetary donations. Are they needing specific things like gift cards or bowling equipment or anything like that? And our producer Angel has your link up on the page there if anybody wants to click on that and donate now.
As far as I'm concerned, no, not right now. I haven't had too much contact with the bowling alley owners directly as far as what else they would need as far as equipment goes. I know that right there, I'm just doing it for the families, for just kind of doing Christmas, kind of wanting to make sure that those families are taken care of during the Christmas times because, their jobs are all affected. I am lucky enough. I run my own business to where my company wasn't affected. So I'm able to continue business as usual. But these families don't. Like there's employees that don't have anything. Or not really don't have anything, but they don't have any jobs because there's not many jobs available because everything just kind of got wiped out. So there's only so much insurance money, that's going to cover hours for their employees. So I can definitely get more in touch with the bowling alley to say, hey, do you guys need more house balls? Do you guys need house shoes? What are some of the things that got affected that are going to help get things back in order? I know that I think the main thing that they're focused on is just kind of getting back up and running. I know that they have a time frame of possibly February, March time frame of getting back up and running, which I think is a fair time frame, judging by the damage that happened and then knowing the supply chain and knowing how long it's going to take to get material here to get the bowling center back up and running again. So that, we're talking another 6 months. So.
All right. Well, talk a little bit about your game. You and I haven't seen you bowl obviously in a long time. Did you lose your equipment? Do you still have yours? How are you doing on equipment?
Oh, I'm good on mine. Everything's fine on my equipment myself. I just kind of got back into bowling after about 10 years off. I kind of was, all right, I kind of got that itch back. I was just turned on FS1 one random day and there was a bowling tournament on and I was like, man, I miss that sound. Like that sound of a pure strike. Like it's like a pure shot in golf. Like once you hear it, you know it's there. And so I kind of missed that. I missed the camaraderie, hanging out, having some beers and, bowling. And so, got back into it. And then this happened. I just bought a brand new bowling ball, the Ebonite 1 Remix. And I was going to get it drilled the day before the storm hit and use it that night for league. And they're like, hey, storms, preparation for the storm. We're going to shut down. We'll be closed Wednesday. We'll open back up Thursday. We'll see you guys on the other side. And then obviously that all changed. That ball's still sitting in my closet, waiting to be drilled. So, but yeah, I'm actually, speaking of Hanrahan, I was actually thinking about switching to two-handed. Coming up. I'm not kidding. Like, people are lying, but I'm athletic enough, and it's been wild. I've been kind of looking into it and seeing some of the Simo. He's excellent, and then obviously Belmonte, he's the GOAT. So, like, how can you argue with it? Like,
yeah,
the facts are there, and I mean, it's pretty wild. Which I necessarily look at one-handed to two-handed bowling is like there's pros and cons to both.
Mm-hmm.
And which you look at like Chris Prather, he is probably like one of the best one-handers we have. Like, he is so smooth. Dave, he's a little bit, no, I'm just playing. But no, like, there's some really good guys out there who can really create that rev and that power still, even one-handed. Like, there's a dude who rolls in my house, and this dude, I mean, he is a power bowler, and he could crank the ball. And it's one of the hardest shots. I mean, he's a one-hander, so you can do it. I believe it's all about technique and what fits your game and what you should do. But yeah, I think it's great for bowling. I think more people should try it, to be honest.
Yeah, I've kind of always said that Robert Smith was the original two-hander. He just did it with one hand. True. Because he just ripped the cover off of it. EJ Tackett's kind of the same way. I mean, EJ Tackett and Belmo, their games are like, once the ball gets on the lane, it's fairly similar, but it's just EJ's one-handed, Belmo's two-handed, so it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah, the same. It's just awesome to watch these guys. It's the talent level that they have, and that's one thing that I think we should just appreciate more as fans, is knowing that these guys are good, and like, they practice this for a reason. So it's pretty fun to see when they're definitely on top of their games.
Yeah, or rather than go two-handed, you could just do like Luke and I did and just switch hands.
That's a terrible idea.
Clark, have you seen me throw left-handed?
Just stay on the right side of the lane, or if you're on the left side, just bowl and house shots, and never. And even then, it's a little. I have seen you throw it left-handed occasion, time or two.
Now, Clark, have you seen me throw it left-handed? I forget. Okay.
Yeah, I have.
You've seen both hands.
Yep, I have, and you're pretty. I'd probably say you're smoother left-handed for sure. You're not as you don't create as many revs left-handed, but I think you're way more accurate, and it's. The pocket entry looks a lot smoother, to be honest, but also that comes with not as many revs. So, but who knows? I was seeing you on house shots, not on any sort of a sports shot or tournament shot.
I don't like to get off the house very often. I'm not gonna lie. So especially at my advanced age, although I did cash in a senior tournament today, I'm gonna throw that out on the show as many times as humanly possible. We'll just say I may have snagged the last check, but I hung in there, and I threw a big game in the last game to sneak in the last check. So I do have that going for me. I'm pretty lucky. Luke is too, be able to do it. There's a lot of guys who just can't do it, but there's a lot of guys on tour, like Chris Barnes and many others who could do it if they had to. Luke's, injury, and myself and injury also, basically, that's how we, started off. Doing it, we didn't do it just because we thought, hey, the left side's that much better. We both, it was a necessity. But guys, I don't know if you've seen Chris Barnes just shot the 2.810 on TV probably 5 times left-handed, made it once or twice. When you're on tour, you can switch anytime you want. So, But anyway, let's get away from us again here. Let's talk more about what's going on down there, because, like you said, you went through this devastating hurricane, and to be perfectly honest, us here in the Midwest, and as you see on TV. It's pretty much forgotten around these parts, and it's forgotten on TV. They've moved on to the next thing that's going to make news. You guys are still living through this, and people in the bowling world and guys who are avid bowlers are having to deal with this down there. I mean, Are there any centers that are really didn't take the brunt that's fairly close to you that you could bowl in now?
The nearest one would be an hour away, and that's with light traffic. If I would drive to a league night, 6:30 start time, it'd be hour and a half plus. That's probably way up in the Sarasota type area. I'd probably say if you would look at a map from Venice all the way to Fort Myers, it was just complete devastation. Oh yeah. There was another center that was probably 10 or 15 minutes away from us. That was in the same. Hey, Daddy's talking. That was in the same area as us, and they too took on a lot of damage. They're actually replacing all of their pin setters. Yes, son. Okay, you get to take over for a couple minutes.
Hey, Clark, let's do this since you got your hands full still there, and we're going to be moving on here in a little bit to our next guest. Go ahead and one more time tell the people here the name of the center, some of the stuff they're looking for, and then we can bring up that GoFundMe once again. There are angels on top of it as always.
No problem. Yeah, it's a Treasure Lanes. That's where the bowling center that I bowled in. And anything that you guys want to donate, as far as I'm just doing it for the Christmas for the kids, but obviously you can see that these guys are going to need any sort of equipment that you guys want to donate to. They definitely have junior leagues, and they have definitely families that are going to be affected. But yeah, you have the link there. You can message me directly. Get my information on Facebook, Clark Browning. And I'll gladly get in touch with you too. All right.
All right, Clark. Sounds good. I will get with my partner with Kansas City Tournament, and we will definitely put something together, and we'll be sending you something here in the next few minutes.
I appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Take care of the kid there, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All righty, that's a little close there, Luke. Bring me away. There you go, much better.
Yeah.
I can see some of the age spots here that are creeping in here. Like I said, this was a rough day for me. Bowling 7 games for me anymore. I'm at my advanced age is it's kind of tough on me, even though I'm in tip-top shape. But I hate to toot my horn, and I know somebody's waiting in the wings here, and he's probably jealous of me because I snagged that last check today in the Northwest Missouri Seniors Tournament. And he did not. So without further ado, I'll tell you what, Luke. Let's go ahead and bring him on here. It's 7:25, and we'll keep him as long as he's able to stay on here. I know he's probably an avid Packers fan too here, wanting to flip over to the game. I've kind of got it over here to the side on my screen too. So let's bring him on here. He's Lord knows he's won 1,000 regionals. X amount of senior tournaments, and he's going to be inducted in the PBA Hall of Fame. Got a chance to watch the video from Tom Clark, and hard not to tear up there a little bit. Lennie, congratulations, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely. Let's start off with that. I like I said, I just got a chance here just a few minutes ago to see that video. Did they have that kind of well hidden? You had no idea that was happening at that time?
Yeah, I seen him there, him and Phil Brilo, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing there? And I almost took off bowling that morning because I bowled a regional this weekend at Freeport, and I was going to head to a practice session, but we just kind of started our league, so thank God I showed up. So yeah, it was kind of seen him there, and I said, hey, what are you doing here? What's happening? And he said, well, I'm here to promote Phil, the owner, which Tom doesn't live too far away. We're going to allow us to shoot some video. We're going to promote that new Bolero tournament. I'm going to go around and visit some leagues and chat and stuff like that. So totally threw me for a loop. Then he's out there announcing before our league going on, and video kind of tells the story. Then and all of a sudden he said, yeah, by the way, the guy in your league won the U.S. Open, Senior Open this year, made him Hall of Fame eligible, and we had a vote last week, and he was voted in. So, yeah, it caught me really off guard. Pretty emotional day. Pretty emotional day.
I can imagine. Do me a favor and take the viewers back to the start of your PBA career. We've seen guys, Ron Moore and some other guys who maybe didn't have the greatest PBA career, but then when they became 50, they just took over the senior tour and bowled great. And like yourself, turned it into a Hall of Fame career. Take us through the early days in the PBA and maybe some of the early struggles that made you stronger later in your career.
Yeah, well, when I was like 18, I was a pretty good young bowler. I cashed in a few tournaments, and I actually won a spot as an amateur in a Miller Open. And it had to be like 1980.
Right.
So I was like 18 years old, and I cashed. Well, of course, I thought I was hot shit then. I thought I was good and ready, and I was never that kind of guy, but I thought I was ready. And at stage 14, I wanted to be a pro bowler, and so anyway, I had met one of my best friends, and you guys know him, Gus Yanaris. I met him at PBA school, even though he lived in Milwaukee. I really didn't know him. He's like 4 years older than me. And so anyway, he was saying how he was going on tour. Well, I had won like $1,000 in the Miller Open, won a tournament. I had a couple bucks, but I was planning. I just got my card, and I was going to go bowl showboat because there was no rabbit squad. And he says, well, I'm going out if you want to go with me. So I went back and I talked to my parents, and they said, well, you're not going to college. We'll give you a few dollars. They had owned a bowling alley. We'll give you a few dollars and, start you out. Maybe you can ride with this Gus guy. And so that's how the journey started. So Gus picked me up down at Kenosha. We jumped in his car and we headed out to California. And 22 tournaments later, I finally got my first check. Or no, it was like 16 tournaments later. So it was a struggle. It was like I was nowhere near ready or mature enough. I'd never been out of Wisconsin, and it was a struggle. And you're like a deer in headlights out there, looking around. There's this guy, there's that guy, guys you idolized. So it was quite the experience. But I hung in there. I ended up trying a little bit the next year, and then one of my best friends decided they say, Lennie, there's a pro shop available. We had both dabbled in a pro shop. My stepfather, who was partners in a bowling alley, kind of did the pro shop thing there. And so anyway, I started a pro shop, and then I don't know, then when it came around, I bowled part-time, and I started bowling regionals, and I just think it was a maturity thing. And then, got my game straightened out a little bit. And next thing, good things started to happen, and there was many bad days on the lanes, I mean, I definitely paid my dues. But bowling part-time, I had some pretty good success when it would come around. I make a cut, here or there. And and then I did not win my first regional until I was 32 years old. So yeah, I was, and I joined when I was 19. So it was quit was never in my mind. Many times I wanted to, but I would always just get through it. But there's many a times I cried myself to sleep over this game, and just had the hard work paid off. I never gave up and just keep grinding away. And then when I pro shop got successful, I had chances to kind of maybe go back out. But I had a family, I had a house, and I was making good money, and I was bowling team challenges. My card was a regional card, and the money in the PBA tour got kind of rough there for a while. And I'm like, I'm not gonna, I like what I'm doing, and that's kind of so I just remained kind of a more of a weekend warrior and all that until the PBA. Am I talking too much, by the way? Am I going
not at all. The guests want to hear you, not us.
Yeah, keep talking.
And I usually don't talk this much. I'm a pretty quiet guy. But then then it was like I remember Dale Traver told me, well, when you turn 50, Len, you become good again. And so anyway, he was kind of, I was fortunate. My first tournament as a 50-year-old, I won. And been doing that ever since. So it worked out pretty good with the pro shop in Wisconsin, being pretty slow in the summertime. I was been able to get away the last 10 years to do that, chase the dream, so. And I've been very blessed, very, very blessed. Have the success I've had and met the criteria to get where I'm at right here talking to you guys, I guess. So here I am.
You've made it once you've made it to our show is what you're trying to say there.
Well, yeah, this is big time, man. I never met Luke before, but I watch his videos, and I got a lot of customers that love his videos. So you're doing a great job. You guys got a nice show.
What I'll do is I'll talk to you here a little bit more, and then I'll flip it over to Luke. He is as you know, he does the videos, and even before I had him come on as my co-host for the show, I watched his videos. And I like the way he did them. He wasn't, oh, this ball is the greatest ball ever. It goes long, hits hard. It's perfect for everybody. He tells it like it is, even though we're all Storm staffers and we love all the Storm stuff, of course, but occasionally some of the stuff just doesn't fit into your bag or into your game or whatever. But so let's stay with the PBA Tour for a little bit. You talked about going out there, and I did the same thing when I went out there. I was wide-eyed. It took me forever to get a check, and bowling out there with some of the guys. That's part of the reason I can get these guys on the show a lot of times is because I bowled with them.
Sure.
Talk about some of the guys you idolize, or just talk about some of your like your favorite cross, and then maybe talk about somebody who might be one of your least favorite people to cross, and why would that be Jeff Riggles? He's going to get me for that one because he watches this afterwards. So,
oh God, I idolized Marshall Holman as a kid. That was who I idolized. And Larry Lobb was I don't know why, but when I was kind of getting into this, he was always on TV. They had that streak, and I forget what year. It had to be in the late 70s, but seemed like he was on TV every week.
Man.
So yeah, I don't know why, but Larry was always in. I got to know him. I got to know both of those guys, and just pure class. Just great guys. And I never forget. I got to tell you a quick story about Marshall Holman. When I was trying to tour, I missed the first 2-3 rabbit squads. And David, you might remember how that was, how hard it was.
Absolutely.
Very hard to make it. I mean, it'd be 100 guys for 50 spots. So it wasn't easy. Sometimes 200 guys. It was, sometimes there would be 10 spots and only 100 guys,
Yep.
Get to St. Louis and some of those stops. But one time I bowled and I was, they had 2 shifts back then. I mean, that's how it was. So I got done bowling and thought I was in soft, and we were playing a dice game in the bar. We were young kids then. Gus and Rowdy Morrow. You're in. Don't worry about it. You're in. You're in. I go out and watch. I see they'd carry that board around. The number, and I'm like, guys, I don't. Don't worry about it. You're in. Next thing you know, I go out there. There's a 4-way tie for 2 spots. Of course, I'm one of them, right? So I go out there and I bowl. I can't remember all the guys that were in there, but I bowl. But back then, after the rabbit squad, all the touring pros would come in and they would practice after the rabbit squad to see the lanes were, right? So now we got this row off, and you got 80 guys back there betting and watching, and Wayne Webb got action, and it's oh my God, talk about nerve. Anyway, I ended up winning the spot. I literally thought I won the Firestone Tournament of Champions. I was that excited. Marshall Holman was in the paddock, and I went up to him. Marshall, I've been, I was just full of energy, and I went and introduced myself to him, and that was the first time I got, man, you've been my idol my whole life. Yeah, kid, I watched you bowl a little bit. You did good out there, and it was kind of like one of those big thrills in bowling, But stuff like that you just don't forget, Great memories. Being out there bowling bad, was a good learning experience, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Parker Bone is one of the great crosses. Just a guy that never is mad. I never really can't say I had any really, really bad crosses, except one time I bowled a guy. I just remember his name. He was from the Kansas City area.
No.
I want to say, no, not you, dude. But it was. I want to say his name. This is back a long time ago. His name was Wheeler or something. This guy would. He'd just go kind of crazy on the lanes. He started pulling his hair out, and I'm like, please don't do that. But you run into a few over the years. You've seen a few guys go a little crazy out there, but yeah, some guys are slow, but hey, everybody has their way they bowl, and nothing but time we got. So, but yeah, there's it's always nice if you cross with somebody that's really you respect. It's just it's always fun.
Yeah, I'll wax poetic here for a couple of minutes, and I'll turn it over to Luke. You guys can talk about some of the new Storm releases and the actual ins and outs of bowling while we tell stories. But you brought up Wayne Webb. Now, Tom Adcock and myself were rooming together one summer in the late 80s, and Wayne had his Winnebago with his car behind him, and we were in California, and we were heading to Seattle, and then the next stop coming back was going to be in California again. So we had 2 weeks. We were going to go up I-5 there to Seattle, and then back down I-5 down back into California. So Wayne said, hey, you guys want to leave your car here? You can just hop on with me, and we'll spend a couple of weeks together. Tom and I didn't even have to think about it twice. We left our car there in California, hopped in. So we go driving up I-5, and we get into Northern California, and we got to get gas. And we come out of the gas station, and Norm throws the keys over to me. I said, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm not driving. I brought you guys along so you could drive too. I'm like, you want me to drive in these mountains, your Winnebago, towing your car that I've never done this before. But the best part of the story is he kind of took us under our wing. Tom was always a little bit better bowler, and now especially is a much better bowler than I am. But at the time, Tom and I were nobodies. Wayne took us under his wing and took me especially. He was with Hammer at the time, and he had a drill press in his Winnebago. And we stopped in a little town in Oregon called Sutherland, Oregon, spent like 2 hours with me, drilled up some stuff, and that's just some of the memories, that you don't forget. And I told the Steve Klimpkin story earlier, you don't forget that stuff, and you've got that in your memory forever. But Lennie, let's go ahead and turn it over to Luke. And once again, congratulations. And I'll talk with you on the way out here, but congratulations on getting in the PBA Hall of Fame. That is so awesome. And very well deserved.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, and we do have Mr. Steve Klompkin that's still with us. Put a congratulatory message for Lennie in the chat. You got that on the screen here. So when you're in the we talked about this with Ron Moore, but you're on the industry side of things. You always think that, okay, well, if I'd have put all my chips in this one basket, sure, I could have. I probably could have won some tournaments. I probably could have done this, but talk about your thoughts here. You're in the Hall of Fame now, but if you'd have gone more the PBA direction rather than the industry direction, what do you think about that? How do you see that playing out? Just what do you think as far as that goes?
I think it would have been. I guess as how I try to look at it this way, I'm fulfilled now because the same guys, at least I tried it and I don't have to wonder, but I feel some gratification that, when I did turn 50 at Bowlands, against a lot of the guys that were, part of the time I was out there and I was able to win against them. So that's pretty gratifying. I don't think I was ever going to be a Walter Ray Williams or, a Pete Weber or anything like that. But yeah, deep down, I think I could have won a few times, maybe. I don't know if I will, I don't know, who knows? I think I just was kind of a late bloomer. I just think, God, I don't know, Luke, that's a good question. We'll never know, but I think I could have won out there. I came close. I finished 5th a couple times. First, I took 4 for the show, finished 6th a couple times just as a part-time guy. But, I don't know, would have been a 10-title Hall of Fame career? I don't know. That'd be hard to say. That'd be pretty tough, but I don't know. Who knows? I don't think I'd be as happy as I am right now, to be honest with you, because you know what? It's not all what it's cut out to be. I've seen it. It's a tough life for a lot of these guys, tough family life, and looking back now, I don't know. I don't know if that would have been all for me. I don't really like to travel now that much. I bowled way more tournaments last year than I really wanted to because I was bowling good, and you keep looking at, well, Father Time isn't on my side. I got to go while I can, because you're a fall away from who knows what, not bowling for a while, especially you get 60. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Chuck Gardner one time, good friend of mine, he kind of said something to me that really hit me pretty hard. He told me, and believe it or not, I think it actually helped me confidence wise. I was ball repping a couple of years back, a few years ago for Storm, helping out a little bit with the guys. And he just came out, Lennie, I know you'd have been a Hall of Famer. You'd had a Hall of Fame career. And this is before I won and met the criteria. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, wow, that's pretty nice, you know. But when you hear from a guy like that, you know, and I'm like, wow, you know, that was pretty nice. So that was just some nice people say nice things, but then you wonder, but that was very nice of Chuck to say that, and it meant a lot to me that at that one time. And you know what? Sometimes little people that say stuff like that give you a little more confidence to believe, maybe I am, you know, Hall of Fame eligible or whatever. And I think it helped me propel my senior career a little bit. Just a lot of vote of confidence from a lot of people, you know. But whether or not I would have gone that route and been successful, who knows? But I'm very happy right now.
And that's the thing too, is that on the PBA 50 tour, you're able to bowl against a lot of the people that would have been your contemporaries had you bowled the regular tour, so to speak. And so, you know, again, Father Time kind of affects everybody generally the same way.
Yeah.
So I guess you are kind of able to see, okay, well, if I'd have been at this age with these, you know, competing against these same people, you know, maybe the same things kind of would have happened that are happening now when you're able to, again, win the Senior US Open here a few months ago. But again, like you said, it's kind of a hard life, and you get the industry side of things, and I've been in the industry side of things. The pro shop industry is very rewarding, helping everybody else.
Sure. It is.
So it's really interesting just thinking about it.
Yeah, it is. It's tough. I mean, it's sure in the back of my mind, I'll always wonder, you know, but that's the one thing missing from, you know, my resume would be to win a national tour title. I did win a super regional that would be comparable to like an extra frame event nowadays that these guys got rewarded titles and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm just happy where I'm at right now. My God, I would have never expected this. My God, you know, especially at 60 years old. You know, I'm figuring, oh man, you know. But you know what? And I'm not like I'm in okay. My legs are strong. You know how it is, Luke, standing around. Luke, you're in a pro shop, right?
I've been in a pro shop long enough to where, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you're on your legs all day long. So my legs are pretty good, and I think you need legs in bowling. I think that's helped me out a lot. I move around a lot, and I get better as I bowl. Like today, I bowled 12 games, and I'm beat because I have bowled about 9 games since the summer. You know, maybe 19, but
yeah.
You know, wow. You know, if I can just keep doing it, that seems I do better. But yeah, it's not easy. These guys are, and nowadays, you know, not to change the subject, but you know, it's what you look at these younger guys, they really brought the fitness thing into it. And so actually we bought a Peloton. So I'm going to start, my wife is into exercise. So I think I got to start using that thing, try to stay in shape. I want to keep up, you know, because it's not going to get any easier, especially all these guys throw urethane now on the senior tour. It's like, oh my God, you know, you're killing me guys. But you know, you always change. Change is good. You know, I've seen a lot of changes over the years. When I was a kid, I had a high backswing and turned it up pretty decent. Don't start laughing, guys, but I did a little bit. But
video.
But then it came a time where straighter was greater, and I think that prolonged my game a little bit. And you know, the equipment, the resin balls, obviously kept guys like me and you know a few of the other straighter guys around longer, and we still had those little tricks and stuff to get through. And me and good spare shooting, you know, we were always preached to that, you know, my generation. So we were able to do that, and staying in an industry, I think, helped my game, you know, later on throughout the thing. And I'll be honest with you, and I'm not bashing any other company or whatever, but the Storm balls, before I signed with Storm, I had 10 balls and 8 of them were Storm, you know, and they just really helped my game, and it's been a great fit, and I owe a lot to that. My God, you know, my ball actually goes through the pins, you know, really good, you know, and creates a little more room for margin for error. So it's been a good relationship on that end of it. Great company, great products. The only problem is now we got so many good bowling balls. I don't know which one to throw half the time. My God, I go to a tournament, I got my car full. I'm like, oh, this one might work. That one might work. That one might work. I'm about ready to start over and start with about 8 balls. Keep the 2. But yeah, it's unbelievable the great equipment that we have out right now. Crazy.
Yeah, that's really funny too, because I do the ball reviews, and so I drill everything basically. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, well, I've got 20 balls that I'm staring at right now, and you can only take. I mean, I can take as many as I want to league, realistically speaking. But I'm like, if you carry more than 6 into league, it's kind of like, I mean, what are you doing here? And so, I mean, stuff the mainstays that we've got, like the High Road and the IQ Tour and the Phase 2 and whatever else, I didn't even throw that stuff. Even the good stuff that we got out right now is kind of like, well, I've got, okay, well, you can only take so many balls out, and it's just really interesting to think about it from that
challenge.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. And then as far as I turned 41 this year, and so I've got to start thinking about it again. It starts setting in a little bit, and you start thinking about it. But gosh, 20 years down the road, I just I don't know. So
yeah,
but
yeah, it is. It's hard. It's very, very hard to know because they're all good and they all might work and they all do work. It's kind of like, you get that one that just carries that extra hit and, might make the difference.
Yeah.
Like getting that last check today, right, David? Getting that last casher.
Exactly. I switched from a gem to an RST X2 at the most opportune time. And, I feel like I've got so many options in my bag. I personally haven't thrown a lot of the stuff that's just came out. We've seen Luke throwing the Fate and a couple other balls on his videos. Have you thrown any of the most recent stuff?
Fortunately, I haven't had time to drill. I just drilled the Phase 5, and I threw it a little bit. But the pattern we bowled on this weekend, I didn't really get to use it much. But I haven't drilled the Night Road yet. I just haven't had time. I've been really busy. Really busy. But we had a demo day a week ago, and the 3 balls that everybody really liked I really like that Infinite Physics. That one's been pretty good ball for me. Mm-hmm. And that one sold. But that one, the Phase 5 and the X3 were the 3 that everybody seemed to like. My X3, I haven't really thrown it much to really give a great review of it. I thought it was a little cleaner than the X1, which I love. Maybe a little more angler, but I got to get it in my hand a little bit more and see. But that one went pretty good on the demo days. The Supernova I just drilled too a little bit. That thing's pretty strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's so many. It's just about once a week, and league. It's hard to, in our place, hooks, so it's kind of trying to get a handle on a few of these. So it was nice bowling this weekend in a regional. It was a little shorter pattern, so I couldn't throw some of them, but I tried a lot of them. Didn't go so well, but it was good to see some of the balls. Starting to like that Cosmos a little bit. That seems to be pretty nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so. I've thrown the Cosmos a lot, and it was kind of like, well, it's strong and it's smooth, and when somebody said, well, it's pearl ball, and you think pearl, and it's like it doesn't act like you typically think pearl ball, but keeping some surface on it and taking it to tournaments, especially on tougher stuff. Yeah, it's like a bigger IQ Tour, and so it's great to put some surface on and take around. I throw it a bunch. I'll take it to tournaments at like 2,000, and then it'll shine up during the tournament, and then I'll take it back to league. And so that at that point, it's got a little bit of lane shine on it, and so it's like perfect for league too. And then I'll sand it back down, and it's one of my favorites right now.
Okay.
But
I threw it a little bit today, and the last game I pulled it out and it rolled pretty good. And I'm like, darn it, why didn't I go this earlier?
Yeah.
But how that goes. That's bowling, though. But
oh yeah, that's one of those things you can take something out and you can bowl the entire tournament, and then you find something like the last 6 frames, or like, gosh, if I'd have been doing that the whole day, then we might have had something here.
It usually doesn't work that way though, but
it really doesn't. But yeah, I'm kind of the point where I'm working at. You say you used to twist it up pretty good, and I'm kind of the point where I'm getting away from the twisting it up pretty good. I'm wanting to get to the old guy game where you get into the adult leagues as from getting out of youth, and you think, gosh, these guys they're not good, but they hit the pocket every shot, and so I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'd really like to hit the pocket every shot. So I'm kind of working on that old guy game where you just kind of square up, you make good shots, and you hit the pocket every shot.
That's weird because I'm working on it again. I'm trying to hook it more now. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy game.
Yeah. Lennie, piggybacking off what you were talking about with the fitness too. I had my time on tour, which was short-lived, but I bowled enough. And then when I started bowling some of the senior majors, I bowled a few for a couple, 3 years. A lot of the guys are in better shape now than they were back when they were 20 or 30. It's kind of funny. And we've had Ron Moore on the show, and Ron says we need to step up our game. Ron does like 1,000 sit-ups and push-ups a day, literally.
That guy.
I know, right?
He really irritates me, though. He'll be sitting there before we're bowling. And Ron's a good friend of mine. I'm a teammate. And, I mean, he'll be putting his foot over his head, stretching out before a senior event. I'm looking over and going, really? You got to do this? But, look at Klumpkin, too. Look at the great shape he's in. Well, he's just a young 50. But, yeah, it's getting to that point where, wow. Even the young guys coming out or the young 50s are in really great shape, and I think that's great for our game. And you always see pictures of like Shannon O'Keefe, working out, and Danielle, and and a lot of the Tangs and Bai. Look at him. I mean, my God, these guys are in pretty good shape. So that should be a long career for these guys. Can't hurt you.
Yeah. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to understand that, where it's kind of like when you're younger, you kind of take it for granted that you're like, you can go out and do whatever. And then you always feel pretty good. But then, you get to some mornings where you kind of wake up and you get out of bed and you're like, well, okay, well, that didn't hurt yesterday, or I wasn't sore after doing this. And so you kind of figure out that you got to just, if I want to keep doing this, I'm going to keep doing it at this kind of level. You just got to, bear down and get after it. And I think Ron Moore is a great example.
Yeah. And he's 65, maybe 64. Yeah. He gotta be 65. Well, he's probably 4 or 5 years old. Yeah. Amazing, amazing talent, competitor though. He's more tough up here than he is anything. I think he just has such a desire to do well, to win. And there's so many aspects of this game that, complete a bowler and, the toughness mentally. I mean, that probably one of my physical game is not to be proud of, but I think mentally it probably helped me get through, you know what I mean? I mean, there's certain guys got the whole package, Jason Belmonte's the whole package, obviously, Pete Weber, some of these guys, but it's Norm Duke. Just all aspects of the game, equipment, everything, crazy.
Yeah, but that's gotta do something for you when you think that is okay. You don't have a Jason Belmonte game, you don't have like a AJ Chapman or an AJ Johnson game, but you just have that old school ability to get the pins down. You know what you're doing. You know how to, angles, and
right.
I love watching people like that. May or may not be blessed with the best physical games, but you just know how to bowl. I really like watching that stuff. So going forward here, what do you think, what are your goals? What are your ambitions? I mean, you're a PBA Hall of Famer now, and you were saying that, in the Wriggles article, it's like, I just wanted to get one more title, but what do you think? What's going forward for you?
Boy, driving home, I was thinking about that, Luke. It's that was my goal, was to win a, major. I knew it'd be tough to get to 10 titles at my age, but you never know, but wasn't likely. I had my fair chance. I got like 8 second places out there, but so I've had my chances, and I'm like, oh, so now I got to one more major. And that was always a goal, after, a lot of good things that have happened to me. You know, to win another major and become Hall of Fame eligible, and it was just hard to believe that it happened. I mean, you know, I don't get in a tournament unless I think I can win. You know, I mean, I've always had that theory. If I don't think I can win, well, maybe as I get older, that might change. you know, just go bowl here and there. But you know what I mean? It's usually I like to think I can win if I go bowl something. You know, and but I know it's never easy to win a U.S. Open. Never easy. That's just the hardest tournament to win, probably. And I just got hot at the right time. You know, I got hot and I bowled well, you know, and things kind of went my way, and I was fortunate to come out with the victory, but it's never easy, you know, and I'm very blessed that happened. And maybe we're this Hall of Fame eligible, and I never expected to get in this quick, you know, and I didn't know if I'd ever get in, but, you know, I met the criteria, and I feel there's a lot of people that deserve to be in Hall of Fame that aren't in the Hall of Fame, and I'd like to see that happen someday. There's a few guys out there I think that are so deserving too, so hopefully someday they'll get in. But yeah, I met the criteria. Here I am, and going forward, I just want win another title and be competitive. That'd be great. Win another title, but keep home for about 4 more years would be nice. You know, not as many tournaments, but you know, long term, there's no really big goals. Just take it one at a time, and you know, try to win the next tournament I enter, I guess, is the way I'm just going to approach it.
Yeah. So somebody asked about your Wisconsin State bowling this year. You and your team put out a monster all-event score, so we might take you out with this one.
Yeah, we had 3,700 scratch team.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll do. Oh, wait a minute. What did we have?
Yeah. I mean, 37 anything is pretty big. So
I think we had 3,900. Now that I think about it, someone help me out. I can't remember. It was such a blur. It was unbelievable what we did. We set the record by we had 30. Yeah, 30. How embarrassing! I can't even remember what we had. But it was a crazy trip. 39-11 we had. I can't even believe it. See, I can't even believe we had that score. We had 39-11 team. Because I remember when the score came out, I said, "Oh my God," you know. And I think that ended up being like the 4th or 5th high in the nation or something, or all time or something, or top 10 all time ever. And I think it was 2nd high for the nation or something like that score. But needless to say, we won 3 titles. We won the scratch, handicap, and then we won the team all events this year. So that was quite a thrill. This has just been a unbelievable year for me. All the way around, state tournament, nationals, missed the all events by 20 pins.
Yeah.
You know, just a crazy year. A year of a lifetime, you know. It doesn't get any better than this, you know. I don't know how I'll match it, but I'm going to try to at least have a nice solid year again. See what happens. But yeah, it was a great bowl with my son. In the state tournament, we were able to win a title together. We bowled nationals together quite a bit. The last 6-7 years, we bowled doubles together, and that's a big thrill for me. And we've been able to win a couple scratch doubles tournaments and stuff. But to share that experience with him, we actually had a father-son team. It was me and my son, and then Matt Zager, one of my good friends, who I was in his wedding. And grew up in Racine together here, Kenosha, Racine area, and his 2 sons, which are very good bowlers, Ryan Zager and Kyle Zager. And so it was a father-son team. And the best part is these guys won the Zager family, the 3 of them won the state tournament, I think 2 out of the last 3 years. And they got rid of 2 guys to bring us on. Said, "Hey, we're going to bring these other we want to do a father-son team one year." Yeah. They won the year before, and they put us on the team and ended up winning again. So we were just fortunate to be on their team, I guess. But it was quite the experience, quite the year. What a thrill. What a thrill winning a family, you know, and good friends.
Yeah, before you go, real quick, just throw a shout out to Jacob. I had Jacob on back in 2017. I looked up in our archives, and he came on the show at that time. I can't remember exactly what he did at that time, but somebody else mentioned into the chat that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame of Clark University.
Yeah, it was very, very, very big thrill for our family. He was inducted he went to Clark University in Dubuque, Iowa, and he was the first bowling program they had there. He was one of the first team. They started a bowling team, and he went there. And he also played baseball there. So he was doing 2 sports for 2 years. But he ended up leading his team to they ended up making it to the grand finals of one of the the USBC event. And so anyway, he became the first bowler to be inducted into their Sports Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. Pretty proud of him. We had a nice time. We went out and watched him about a month ago, I think. And yeah, inducted in there. And I think he probably had Jake on. He was leading all events at I forget where it was at, but he ended up finishing 3rd that year. Brad Angelo won that year. It might have been Syracuse. But Jake finished, it might have been Syracuse, but he finished 3rd. I think Brad Angelo, and maybe Kenny Ryan, 2 pros finished ahead of him. So yeah, Jake's a hell of a bowler. He's kind of into really into golf now too. You know, he's got a pretty good career going, but he's still bowling a little bit. He'll go in spurts. Once this golf, he'll get back into a little heavy duty. But you know, he's got 300s this year, I believe. He's bowling like once a week and subbing a couple times. Crazy talent, and a good kid too. We're very proud of him, though. But yeah, he's a Hall of Famer too.
I believe that might have been in Las Vegas because I looked up our info. It was in 2017 when we had him on the show. So 18 would have been Syracuse. So either way, that's it's still cool.
Yeah.
I was remembering. I knew I had him on. I just couldn't remember when. I just looked up.
Yeah, he told me you had him on. I was talking to him earlier today. He said, "Yeah, I was on Waz's show." I said, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
Nope. Well, he made it before you, but you've made it to the pinnacle of bowling in the PBA Hall of Fame. Lennie, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. You've been very gracious with your time today here. And as Angel, our producer, pointed out earlier, we like to ramble on a lot, and that's fine. We have all the time in the world. This show is no longer on the radio, so we can take as long as we want. But I'm sure you've got other stuff going on. I just want to take a moment and give you your due here on the show, and congratulate you once again for making it to the PBA Hall of Fame.
Thanks, guys, so much. Yeah, it's still kind of hasn't really sunk in. It's still kind of, just all the texts and messages I've been getting and trying to respond to the most of them. And yeah, it's been a surreal weekend. It's just unreal. But I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Anytime you ever want to talk, just give me a call. It's always a thrill. Always a thrill.
I'll say it out front. You, Ron Moore, Steve Klimkin, guys like you, we want to have on the show. We want guys who are not only accomplished bowlers, but also good people. And that's what we're looking forward to have on the show here. And you're one of those.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot.
All right, man. You have a good night. Good luck with your Packers. I keep peeking over here. It's not going so well. Aaron Rodgers is telling his team to relax right now. They'll be fine, but I'm not sure they're going to be tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough win. Yeah, but I think they can do it. Unless they're down by 20 already.
If you haven't seen already, I'm just gonna clam up right now. All right, Lennie. We'll let you go. You have a good night.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. All right, have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
All right, Luke, we turned our normal 20-minute interview into 40 there. And he said it early on there, hey, I feel like I'm talking too much. And it's like, no, you can take as much as you want and as much time as you need. We have no other guests coming on. And people want to hear the guests. They don't want to hear you and I.
Yeah, especially when I start rambling and then figure out I don't really have a question. I just kind of start talking and I'm like, oh, I don't really have anything to ask them. So I'm just...
I forget the last time we had the show. You got on with somebody and you were going on, and then I do the same thing, and then you got to the end. You're like, I don't even know if I really have a question. So,
yeah, not really.
Just speak on anything you want, but that's the thing. We're You know, the Feff has a good voice. We're not, you know, we didn't go to journalism school. I bet I've have 100 ums on the show. If we had an counter, you know, I'm sure I'd have that many. I just think I just had another one right there. It's just natural. I see these guys on TV. They'll talk for 10 minutes without, you know, saying or skipping over a word and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just not you and I.
No, it's kind of funny. For as much flack as like somebody like Joe Buck gets, you know, he's just so smooth and so professional. And I was watching the World Series game last night. I can't remember the guy's name. It was Joe something. It was with John Smoltz. And he was just one of those Joe Buck type of guys that's kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever. But he's just, his voice is perfect. He commands the show well. He never says He's just silky smooth and just like the Feff, where he just kind of takes over and you just want to listen to him talk.
Exactly. Well, I'm tired of listening to you and I talk. So let's wrap this thing up. Looks like you're out of fluid there, or you're getting towards the end there. So
yep, I'm done with my drink here. I'm ready to go get some food and had a good show.
Angel let the dogs out?
Not yet. You would hear them if she had, but it's pretty close. She is definitely that song long time ago about who let the dogs out. She is definitely the one that let the dogs out.
All right, who sang that song?
I'm pretty sure it was Shaggy, but I can't remember. It probably not. I don't know.
It is actually the Baja Man.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, I don't.
Shaggy might have done a remix or something of it, but anyway, Angel says that Stormy and boy, I'm forgetting the other ones because I haven't.
Aspen and Missile are ready to go outside. So
let's go ahead and wrap this up. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors: Storm, Turbo, Cool Wick, I Am Bowling, Bowlers Mart, SRGBBFS, Storm Roto Grip Bowling Balls for sale on Facebook, Double J's Pro Shop, and BobbyJacksons.com. Once again, thanks to everybody who listened in this week. Luke and I will be on here hopefully mostly every week from here on out. We had a little hiatus, but we'll from here to the end of the year, hopefully we'll be on most every week, and we appreciate everybody listening.
Yep. Thanks for everybody for joining us. We will see you next time.